This is Townsquare Sunday on 1420 WBSM, the place where people come together to talk about the good things happening in and around New Bedford.
Come together right now. Oh.
And now, the moderator of Townsquare Sunday, Jim Phillips.
And a good Sunday morning to you, and welcome to this week's edition of Townsquare Sunday. It's a public affairs program designed to highlight efforts by an individual or organization to make the South Coast a better place to live. I'm Jim Phillips. The Red Cross, one of those organizations that you might forget about when you don't need them, but when you do need them, they are invaluable. They do a lot more than just blood drives. My guest today is Hilary Green. She's the executive director of the American Red Cross for Southeastern Mass and Cape Cod. Hilary, good to have you here.
Great. Thanks for asking me to be here.
So you've been with the Red Cross for about 7 years.
7 years as executive director. I was on the board before that and a blood donor since the 1980s. A long time, yep.
Okay. For those who may not know, I think I understand at least some of the mission of the Red Cross, but for those who don't know, what is the mission of the Red Cross?
Well, it's pretty overarching, but our mission statement simplifies it. We look to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies using the generosity of our donors and the power of our volunteers. The Red Cross is over 90% volunteers. We have very little staff. And our goal is to make people safe and prepare them for emergencies so they can recover from emergencies. And we do a lot of work under the radar that, as you said, you might not even be aware of all the things we do.
Well, I was surprised when I visited the website because I know Red Cross does blood drives.
Yep.
I know they respond to emergencies with folks to help with housing, all of those kinds of things. But there are some other fire prevention things that you do as well, according to the website. We'll talk about that. You have a large coverage area, Southeastern Mass and Cape Cod. And what are the challenges that go with that?
Well, the challenges are just trying to be everywhere all the time. We have volunteers, though, in almost every community. So I can't physically get to every event, or my disaster program manager can't necessarily be at every disaster, but our volunteers are. So it doesn't even matter how big my chapter is or what the name of my chapter is. The volunteers are still there. It's volunteers in your community. So if there's a fire in New Bedford or in Fairhaven, the volunteers from that area, they sign up on our website to be available. They get dispatched to the fire, and they work with their neighbors, and they help people recover from that terrible tragedy of having a home fire.
And there is some challenges with that, in that someone has to line up. For instance, if there's a fire and people lose everything, something as simple as a motel where these people can stay for a period of time. Somebody has to do that. Somebody's going to line that up.
Well, yeah. So, in fact, our casework has changed a little bit over the past 3 or 4 years. We used to say, okay, you're going to stay at the Comfort Inn or whatever, and we'd get them all signed up for that. Now we put money on a debit card and just add it saying, you can use this to stay wherever you like. If you need help in finding a place, that's fine. But we put the power back in the person's hands to say, because maybe they don't want to stay at the Comfort Inn, maybe, but we make sure they have the funds available and we help them in any way. The main thing that the Red Cross does with people who've had a fire or any other type of disaster is give them the care and comfort. I mean, if you can imagine standing outside your house watching it burn, and the firefighters are there, they take care of you and the house and put the fire out, and then they drive away because their job is done. And you're standing there going, where do I go? What do I do? And that's what our volunteers do. We really take care of people in one of the worst times of their life.
It is one of the worst times of their life, for sure. What are some of the recent emergencies the Red Cross has responded to? I imagine we had a terrible fire in Fall River recently.
Yes.
That ended up with 2 people dying and about 80 people misplaced.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of these folks may have families that they can turn to, but I'm sure some had nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was
Older folks.
84 people were displaced. We worked with the surrounding community and the city of Fall River And we held 2 resource fairs, Sunday and Tuesday, where we were the coordinating agency to have up to 16 other partner agencies from the United Way, helping people get their new IDs, driver's licenses, Fall River Housing Authority. So what we do is we don't always do every piece of the hands-on. We coordinate and are the resource for everybody to come to. So that was a big one, and that's still ongoing. We're still making sure people have what they need. And you're right, everybody's needs are different. But I will tell you, we had our ambassadors or caseworkers at the MARC, the Multi-Agency Recovery Center. And I can't tell you how many people came in saying, oh, I've lost her. They were so upset. And by the time they left, they actually had a little bit of a smile on their face because of the care that our volunteers took care of them.
That's a great thing. I'm sure the Red Cross responded to the northern part of the Commonwealth with the gas fires back in September.
Yeah.
I don't know if your volunteers had any role in that in terms of Southeastern Mass. But,
yeah, we do. What we do is we're really one Red Cross, so we can pull resources from wherever. So that was a huge response. So yeah, I went up and served as a site coordinator one day. Several of our volunteers went, and when we need help, like those wonderful nor'easters we had in the month of March last year, we had volunteers sent to us from everywhere from Maine to New Jersey to help us staff shelters and take care of people. So we work together.
90%, you say, of 90% of the Red Cross is made up of volunteers.
Yep.
Where do these people come from?
Well, it's
How do they do it?
I know exactly. I'm not. It's an unusual volunteer. If you want to be a disaster volunteer, to want to get out of bed at 2 a.m. on a cold winter night to go help somebody you don't know. It's amazing. So I don't know where they come from, but thank goodness they do. We can always use more volunteers. If you don't want to do the disaster response, we've got other programs. We'd love to have volunteers.
And how can people volunteer?
It's really easy. I mean, it's all online, and we're happy to meet with people too. But redcross.org, you click on volunteer, fill out the application, and our great volunteer services team contacts you, make sure we know what you're looking for, and puts you in contact with whoever you need to talk to. And again, my door is always open. I'd love to talk to people.
You're listening to Townsquare Sunday. My guest is Hilary Green, the Executive Director of the American Red Cross in Southeastern Massachusetts and Cape Cod. All of your services, salaries, some help with housing, the debit card, whatever. That's all paid for through private donations?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I sometimes forget to mention that. We are the American Red Cross, but we get no funding from the government. We are funded by the American people, not by your tax dollars, but by donations. Donations from individuals, corporations, foundations, and that's how we do it. Yeah. And we wouldn't be here without the support of the American people.
That's an enormous task, though. Does your national office run the fundraising part of it, or? It's
a little bit of a combination. So I do some fundraising. We have a great fundraising event every year called our Heroes Breakfast, which happens every April. And then we have a regional fundraising team in our corporate offices in Medford. And national really doesn't have much to do with it, but we have people who, and then we get donations in at our chapter. People mail them in, and it's a nice system because if you mail in a check to me that it's got a zip code for my chapter area, our chapter gets full credit without me having to do all the mailing and the paperwork.
Sure. The Heroes Breakfast, I have to mention that because I believe if it didn't start in New Bedford was doing that many, many years. I know because I was involved with it.
I didn't know that. That's great to know. Yes, we started in 2003 based upon the New Bedford one. There are now Heroes Breakfasts all across the country, but we're going on. Will be our 17th year. It does take place in Hyannis, but it covers the entire chapter area. I've got some good nominations from New Bedford and Fall River and Taunton. It's a great event. If you want a feel-good event, this is the one where you only hear good news stories.
It is a fantastic event, and it's a way to honor, yes, local heroes, and it's a fundraising event for the Red Cross, too.
Yeah, it's the only one we do. I don't sit there and hit up businesses all year long to just say, hey, sponsor this event, do this, but we get you in, we get you out. It's 7:30 to 9. you hear great stories, and then you can go your merry way. But and hopefully you think, maybe I should learn CPR or first aid,
That's right.
or volunteer for the
Yeah.
Red Cross. So,
Clearly. I want to ask you about some other programs that people probably have no idea that you do, and that is fire safety and prevention. You do something called a home fire campaign,
yes.
which I'm not quite sure how much attention it gets, but obviously you're working on it.
Yeah, it's been around for about 4 years, and programs like this are one of the ways we want to get the word out. What it is, it's free smoke alarms being installed in your home. It's called the Home Fire Campaign. We have teams of volunteers. You call an 800 number to get on the schedule. The volunteers put together when they can get out to your house. They walk you through fire safety tips. They look at what you have and what you don't have. We install up to 3 battery-operated smoke alarms and a CO detector, and then we help you plan your escape route because you have less than 2 minutes to get out when there's a fire. And smoke alarms don't prevent fires, but they certainly help save lives. So our goal is to reduce the number of fatalities and injuries from home fires by making sure as many homes as possible are safe.
Any idea how many alarms you've given out?
Yeah, well, so for our region, which is Massachusetts, we did 4,500 alarms last year. We've done about 4,000 every year. This year, our goal is 7,000. And we've done some New Bedford installs. We've Fall River. We're going to go back there, and we do it. It's 1-800 number that then gets centralized and gets our volunteers to schedule when they can come.
All right. So, are there other things that you do with fire safety? Obviously, fire alarms, it's a big part of it.
Yeah, well, we always do preparedness presentations, not only fire safety, but, winter storm safety, hurricane safety. We do presentations at senior centers and preschools, and it's a big part of our job is preparedness, preventing and alleviating human suffering. And so it's not the big splashy stuff, but, yeah, if you have a Rotary Club or a faith community or something, you want the Red Cross to come help, train people on what they need to do to be safe, we'll be there.
All right. Couple of other bookkeeping kinds of questions here. How can people make a donation? Let's start with that.
Well, yeah, the redcross.org website, you can make a donation there. You can choose your local chapter. You can choose if there's a major, like the California wildfires, or you can choose that it goes where it's needed. And again, if you make a donation and you live in my chapter area, we get credit. Or you can mail donations to our office in Hyannis. But it's really easy. We'll help you in any way. Yep.
Yeah, very good. And we shouldn't forget about blood drives,
right?
Because they're important too.
Yeah, we have many blood drives every month throughout Bristol County, and we work with a lot of the South Coast hospitals. So please, blood is always needed, especially in this post-holiday time when people are like, "Oh, I was so busy," and our blood goes where it's needed. If it's needed locally, great. If not, it goes where it's needed. And we have a blood donor app that I use on my phone, and it'll tell me where my blood donation went.
The website has all this information. I was on it this past week, and including upcoming blood drives. There's a tremendous list there with addresses and phone numbers and all of that. So,
yeah, you can even go to redcrossblood.org and you put in your zip code and bingo,
right,
they all come up.
That's it, exactly.
Yep.
Where can people go to get more information about Red Cross services? The answer, of course, on the website.
Yeah, because it's all centralized there. But again, our office is in Hyannis, but we're out and about throughout all the communities, and I'm happy to talk to anybody. At redcross.org/Hyannis is our chapter page, and it's got my phone number and email address, and I'm happy to connect with anybody to let them know. And I did mention the blood donor mobile app, but we've got a whole bunch of free mobile apps, first aid, emergency, that you can download on your phone and have it as a resource. So that's another free preparedness thing we have for you.
Hilary, what are you most impressed with with your volunteers?
Just their dedication and their ability to do this. We have some volunteers who've been doing it for 25, 30 years, and their commitment to just be there when people need them, no matter what's going on in their own life. And their professionalism and their caring. It's just the first month I was executive director, I went on a fire call and could not believe, and we were out there till about 2 o'clock in the morning in Dartmouth, and it was Easter Sunday night, and the volunteers were there. They said to me, "You look tired, why don't you go home?" And they stayed there, and then went to work the next day. I don't know where they're made, but I want more of them.
And again, you can tell us how people can volunteer. You mentioned it once, mention it again.
Yep, redcross.org, and click on volunteer, fill out the application, or give me a call, and we'll meet.
Is there any other checks that they have to go through?
Yeah, so it's an online application, and it includes a background check, but it also includes checking what you're interested in and when you'd like to work and all of that.
My guest has been Hilary Green of the American Red Cross for Southeastern Massachusetts and Cape Cod. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. This has been wonderful.
And we appreciate all the work you and your organization does and all those volunteers.
Yes, but the work they do. Yep.
Townsquare Sunday returns in just one moment.